Astronomers studying stars millions of years inspired each and every 76 years for 6,000 years by the messenger of God's law, the Messiah, Halley's Comet, inspiring astronomers Abraham, Israel, Moses, Buddha, Hillel, Jesus, Confucius, Paine, Sagan, and Mohammed to unite the whole human race in astronomy's all-embracing, eternally tremendous, all-one God faith. Listen, children, eternal Father, eternally one. Exceptions eternally, absolute none. Well, I'm proud of my father. All one.
Listen, children, eternal Father, eternal one.
I lived in a teepee in the Ozarks on a hippie commune in the 70s, and we used Dr. Bronners peppermint soap for everything. Washing baby diapers, brushing our teeth, washing our hair.
Floors, bathroom, kitchen. I've even washed my dog with it.
We actually use some of Dr. Bronner's in our granola factory for cleaning. We don't put it in our granola.
For my mom, taught me how to cleanse myself internally with colonics and enemas and things like that. And she always taught me to put a little Dr. Bronners in the water. And, you know, she said, during your cleanse, you'll begin to taste peppermint.
Oh, it tingles as it cleanses. It's natural and it's pure. It'll wash your hands, brush your teeth, clean your hair and more. When you read the label, renouncing hate and war, your awareness, yea, it will be raised, your spirits, they will soar. They make it in an almond and a eucalyptus too. Peppermint and baby mild lavender, that's new. Don't worry about what's in it, just put it on your skin and trust that it will scrub you free from dirt and sin. It's Dr. Bronner's magic soap. It's natural and it's pure. It'll wash your hands, brush your teeth, and clean your hair and more. The best of all the labels is the peppermint quart blue. Those more than 2,000 words will change mankind and you. See, they don't write songs like that anymore. And see, that was Dad. That's brilliant, Ralph. You ought to be on TV.
Now let's see if the same tape works in this machine.
And then I treat only about a half an ounce of soap. 2 gallons of water, half an ounce of soap. Now when you're completely nude, which I'm not at this time, but illustrated, you're completely nude, and you fill the sink with the hottest water you can handle. Your bowels are empty, you're shaved, you're nude. The window is open, the door is closed. And then I put half of it, half and half together, and throw it over my face and give myself a facial pack. Your hair against the grain both ways. Use different parts of the towel till all the tingling is gone out of your scalp. Always towards your heart, with all your strength tight around the muscles. right up there, all the way up, and here and there, and all the parts of your body for about 10 minutes. Massage and ring and arms and everything towards your heart. And so you're much cleaner than you ever in a shower in a bathtub. And that method I use since 1935 for 50 years. And it keeps me feeling young. I'm supposed to be 76. I feel like 26.
Do you get time out here?
Yeah.
Where is it?
Look up.
Wait.
No, look up. You just passed it. You're looking directly at it. It's hanging on the door.
Here?
Okay, isn't
Oh.
that time out?
Yeah, it's a magazine.
Yeah, it's a magazine. Use it close so we hide.
This is the big moment. Man alive, New York is big. What's going on in Milwaukee is covered in about 2 pages. So far off Broadway, we can't find them. Okay, here's what they have. Soap maker Ralph Brenner, son of Dr. Brenner, tells stories about his eccentric father. Remember the kooky exhalations on the label of your liquid peppermint soap? Sings songs and gives out the soap. See page 164. Oh man, there's Dad. No kidding. Okay. Do you take credit cards here, ma'am?
No.
That's fine. How much is one of these?
$3.
I'll take one from the bottom. You are in luck. You know why?
Why is that?
You sound really excited about it. They're writing up my father, who deserves a write-up. My father escaped from an insane asylum in 1946. He was obsessed with telling the world through a soap label. He was Jewish, my mother was Catholic. That we're all children of the same God, we should care for each other on this planet. Does that sound crazy to you? Well,
That's your father.
yep, he was totally blind and called himself the happiest blind man on earth.
Really?
But here's what's neat. I have faith that the common people would do the same thing. If you ever inherited a $6 million company, wouldn't you remember the low wages and no benefits? Would you help people?
Without a doubt.
Michael Eisner gets $1.2 billion every other year to run Mickey Mouse and the boys. Do you think with that salary the workers are getting great salaries? Nope.
No.
They're making $6-7 an hour sweeping the streets.
Yeah. Purpose.
Let me give you a hug. Can you step out here? There's a quote on there you're going to love. God must have loved the common people of the earth. He made so many of them. See, I was a dishwasher for 3 years. I was on welfare, and I never forget the people like you.
Thank you.
Few drops, your whole body will tingle.
The moral ABC that the wise man in the temple, mason, tent, and sandal maker, a scene teacher of righteousness of light, the real Rabbi Hillel taught the 12-year-old Jesus to raise, train, evolve, unite the whole human race in one God face. That moral ABC is the most important set of teachings that help mankind to survive. The essence of it is that it is full truth. It is absolute full truth. At all times, to all human beings, any place on earth, the moral ABC is solid as a rock. To summarize it, it says on 6 million peppermint soap labels, quote, the second coming of God's law. Mohammed's Arabs 1948 found Israel Essene scrolls and Einstein's Hillel prove that as certain as no 6-year-old can grow up free without the ABC, so certain can no 12-year-old survive free without the moral ABC.
I became interested in it when I used his peppermint soap. Boy, that stuff had a zing. And then I read the label, and I couldn't imagine a soap doing so many things. You know, you can clean your pets with it. You can wash your car with it. You can clean your teeth, shampoo, and anything a soap will do, you know, you name it, it'll do it. And then I became interested in anybody that on one label, this was, it could tell you about Halley's Comet, discusses religion, science, and also the fact that Dr. Bronner is allegedly a nephew of Albert Einstein. So, in his own way, he's a kind of a brilliant nonconformist, let's put it that way. And we enjoyed it, and I figured that anybody who was a chemist, a rabbi, and a 7th-generation soap maker was an interesting person to cultivate.
Side 1, tape 3. Listen, children, eternal Father, eternal One.
Marx wrote 1844, "One world without Jews, causing 66 million murders, many tortured, blinded, and terrorism."
But Gorbachev found, surely God on high gave us enough wisdom to unite all nations. What's an apology we rabbis owe all nations for not teaching the moral ABCs, all one God faith?
All one God faith, for we're all one or none. All one, all one, all one.
We're one, all one, exceptions, eternally none, absolute none.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
You've got some 60s folk music in there. You've got something from the New Testament. You've got Gorbachev, you know, and Marx and Gorbachev sort of disagreeing with Marx. Marx only getting half the picture. It's not easy to understand if you try to analyze it. Just read it and, you know, hear it.
All one, all one, all one.
He had a tyrannical father, Hebrew praying, not wanting him to really enjoy life, and emphasizing Jews as the chosen people, fed up with my father being a Zionist, bringing in politics, because a line Dad quoted over and over that you mix soap with politics once more and you're out of here. And I think the out of here was his one-way ticket to America.
My father moved into a neighborhood. My father was very much like Frank Ford, very hard-working, waiting till he had a big factory and everything. Then he had himself a son. Then he moved into a wealthy German neighborhood, and the 4-year-old boy didn't know why the other German boys wouldn't play with him. Till one day they said, "Come on over, I want to play, Emil." And when I went over there, they had a 5-gallon pail of pee and dumped it over me and says, "You damn Jew." And I ran back to my ma crying and says, "Jude, Jew, what is that?" And my mother was weeping while she cleaned me up. She said, "Forget it, forget it."
This is the soap from the 30s and before the Nazis nationalized the factory. David, here's the piece of Metaform soap that I promised. It is probably 65 years old. The factory was jointly owned by 3 Heilbronner brothers, Sigmund, Bertolt, and Karl. Karl immigrated to the U.S. in 1936. Sigmund died in 1939, and their great-grandfather wound up having to agree to a forced sale to Nazi owners before losing his life in the camps.
These are Dad's parents. Lotte and Margaret have met them in Switzerland. It's 1938. They're still running the plant, but the Jewish stuff has started. I think Crystal Night was 1937-38. And they have the money and tell them to come to America with them. And the father says he's German, this will blow over, Hitler will be forgotten. A couple years later, they get a postcard, because everything was censored, with only 3 words on it. "You were right." She was killed in Theresienstadt, and he was gassed in Buchenwald.
Wait, one moment.
Mike out.
Okay? Begin, please.
I'm soap maker master chemist Dr. Emanuel H. Bronner. From 29 when I came here from Germany till 44, I built 3 American soap factories, one in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, one in Eastern Pennsylvania, one in Chicago, Illinois. That Morrill ABC I got onto way back in 1912. And now in 1944, as I buried my wife in a pauper's field, I swore to the God within me and within every living being on this planet that the moment I have $10,000 to protect 3 motherless children on that farm in Wisconsin, I become the servant of God. Within 30 days, in September 1944, I had $60,000, licensing 6 or 53 patents. I quit my job as a chemist and I became a searcher for truth. True to my name, Emmanuel, search for truth. Emes is truth in Hebrew. And so I learned beginning 1944 that what causes all the trouble on this earth the past 2,000 years is a lack of rabbis, a failure of rabbis to teach every 12-year-old boy on God's spaceship Earth the moral ABC, without which none survive free.
Hi.
Hi.
How's the skateboarding in the hall?
Not too bad. Is this 14 yet?
Yeah. Have you ever heard of Bronners soap? You know, you.
Soap that's in the.
Yeah,
got like a,
you fit our profile. That was my father.
Really?
Yeah. Do you want?
Wow, I love that soap. I love the.
Come in the room.
Yeah?
I'm going to give you some.
Oh, right on.
You know why I'm here?
No.
Our story is so incredible. I'm going to be telling it on Sunday and Monday in an off-Broadway theater.
Really?
Yeah, I travel the country and I love people like you.
Okay, I love that soap because you can use it for everything, your hair to your toes.
Well,
You know, as long as you don't use too much, because it will lather and lather and lather.
and it will tingle and tingle and tingle,
Yeah,
right?
it does tingle.
You got to watch your undercarriage. All of us that love the soap, including me, are abnormal.
Yeah, what's that? Is that the
That's peppermint. Yeah, but wait,
that's the
are
one.
you sure? Now watch it. These are free. Are you sure you don't want to? Holy crap, they're all peppermint. Wait, I was going to give you a. That's unscented.
Oh, that's not fun.
Since it's free, lavender is part of the peppermint family. You might like to give it a shot. But if you
That's
absolutely
nice.
don't like
That's
that
very
smell,
nice.
well, why don't you give it a try?
All right.
It won't tingle quite as much.
Okay, because I like the tingle.
I mean, to be honest, you are so colorful, it looks like you're made up for a theater.
I'm an artist, though. I'm a musician.
I help run the longest running non-profit coffee house in America. I'm a musician. See that over there?
Oh, yeah,
but
right
I'm a
on.
pathetic one. I know 3 chords in that, and well, in 15 different
But you
forms.
can push them all around.
Yeah. What do you play?
A piano.
Oh, no
Yeah,
kidding.
I got a
In
piano
what
right in
style?
here. You want
Wait.
to go jam out for a
Wait,
little while?
wait.
Bring your guitar in.
A piano in your room?
Yeah. It's electronic, but it's piano. It's like an acoustic sound. It's right here.
Is it portable?
Yes.
What are you doing tonight?
Well, I'm here. I've got my girlfriend's in hospice, so she can't move around much. So
man. What's she in hospice for?
she's got a brain tumor.
Oh,
So
shoot.
she's in the
This is
next room over here. So she lives here. Her ex-husband's
Oh.
a wealthy guy.
Can I say hi to her? Oh, no, it's
I don't know
okay.
if she's awake right now. Her daughter's there. Her niece is there.
How old is your daughter and niece?
They're like in their 20s, early
Oh.
20s. Now this is probably a little out of line here, but
Nothing's out of line with me.
I smoke marijuana. I don't know if you do or if that's.
I don't, but
totally out of
I.
line, but I have a really good kind, and if you care to maybe later on after you've worked and you're ready to just like settle down a little bit, we'll jam out. And I mean, obviously you don't have to smoke either, and if that offended you, we don't have to.
No,
around.
but I would enjoy the.
But
we're the biggest pushers of hemp in the United States.
really, do you use
David.
hemp in the manufacturing process?
We added hemp back in 1999. Actually, I think it was April 2000. April 2000.
Well, hemp oil it's got the highest concentration of essential fatty acids, omega-6 and omega-3 of all the plant oils. And omega-3 and omega-6, that refers to the fact that they're polyunsaturated fatty acids, more double bonds in the fatty acid chains. And what that means as far as soap is that it smooths out the lather and makes it less drying. So basically we got ingredients: water, saponified organic coconut, and organic olive oils with retained glycerin, organic hemp oil, organic jojoba oil, organic peppermint oil, organic mentha arvensis, sea salt, citric acid, and vitamin E.
You know, our soaps are different from detergents, are different from other stuff out there. It's something that, you know, if you had the right tools, you could make in your kitchen.
The ultimate vision is, you know, we want to see the sustainable, just society where everything's being produced in a just way, fair wages and fair living standards. We're not using petroleum to make our containers and floors and stuff. We're using plant-based alternatives. You know, the actual agriculture is organic, is sustainable, and we're not polluting the land and killing the soil.
Everything's gravity fed, so we don't have to pump anything when we're filling it. You just open the line, and then this right here turns it off and on.
This is the bulk tanks. We get our soap delivered. I grew up in LA making the soap with my dad. My dad oversaw soap production in the LA facility that's making our soap. It got to a point in life where, you know, I didn't want to work for the family company, but got to a space where I was kind of became very ecologically and socially aware and appreciative of what my granddad was about and what he was doing, and really finally kind of understood, like in a much deeper way, what he was trying to do. And then I was like, okay, you know. So I called my dad up, like, all right, I'm ready to come in. And it was really good because a month later, he was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer in the lungs, and, you know, was given 6 months. So.
I'm Jim Bronner, 9th. Okay, up on the top. I'm Jim Bronner, 9th generation soap maker. One more time, I didn't have you in frame. Okay. I'm Jim Bronner, 9th generation soap maker. We make all one soaps here, liquids. Eucalyptus, peppermint, almond. Been making them here for about 20 years. They're made precisely to Dr. Bronners formula. I'm in charge of the manufacture of this soap, and I see to it that it's done right every time.
This is it. These are the two. Blue is Ralph, the other one is Jim. Now, a little sweat made it saltier. We're making mineral salt. At the beginning, in the first years, it was 80% of the business.
Well, I guess my Uncle Ralph has always helped my granddad with the labels and more of the, you know, kind of cosmic trip. And my dad was, you know, more, you know, always on the production, kind of the nitty-gritty of the business. You know, just dealing with all the different accountants, attorneys, and whatever. You know, he really took the company to a level of fiscal discipline and efficiencies, and introduced a lot of just business logic to the company that, you know, my granddad maybe didn't have.
When I came to work for him after I got out of the Navy, I have to say I was really disgusted. It seemed like a very Mickey Mouse business operation. He kept interjecting his religious and political philosophies anytime he got in a conversation with a potential customer. I mean, if the guy wouldn't listen to him, he wouldn't sell him.
So I became the one son that didn't even mind some days going 12 hours. Of course, I knew I was going to go back to Milwaukee and be with normal people. Whereas my brother was the chemist and impatient and never listened.
Yeah, well, my dad, you know, he just had a wholesale rejection. I mean, he also had a negative experience with Catholic nuns and stuff, so he just wanted nothing to do with religion, you know, just a whole religious talk. He didn't want to hear it, you know. I grew up, my granddad and him would talk, you know, very often, and you usually end up with my dad, you know, yelling, I don't want to hear that more ABC crap.
You know, they had a very, very rough childhood. Ralph has probably glossed over it a little bit too much. It was absolutely awful. You know, they were in orphanages and some foster homes where the people were not nice.
My mother was sickly. The funny thing is, I don't know if I've shut it out or what. I have no memory of her, even though off and on among those homes, I'd be back with her and Dad. There are pictures proving that.
Ellen was the oldest, and 2 or 3 years, and then Ralph, and then 2 years, and then Jim. So Ralph was the middle, and Jim was the youngest.
My mother's sick. He now has a job in Easton, Pennsylvania. What's he going to do with the kids? He's going to speak at the University of Chicago. What's he going to do with the kids? He met some of them at the German dance club, some's in bars, some just casually. I wouldn't want to find out how you can drop 2 or 3 kids off on people. They knew they weren't adopting us. I woke up in an orphanage in Chicago, St. Joseph's. In those days, they had huge ring keys. They thought nothing of slamming you across the knuckles. And they were pretty cruel. I remember sleeping on cots in a room full of kids. Like today, you'd see prisoners.
I think Ralph always took care of Jim, because there was that one home they were in that I can't remember how the story came about. Ralph, who was maybe 6, told his father that that he and Ellen are okay, but little Jimmy is not.
We used to live in these foster homes, and we'd only see him maybe once or twice a year. And when he'd leave, it was just a real traumatic experience, particularly for me, and I tried to hide in the car or in the trunk. And when he left, I remember walking down the road after the car for 5 miles, just crying.
Talking about memories, vaguely remember the orphanage and so on, and my father coming to visit, but the first real solid ones were my father in a 41 Buick, black, and you opened the door and there was a smell of peppermint. He must have always loved peppermint. This time it was from Lifesavers. Peppermint Lifesavers and apples. And he'd have presents for us, no matter who he left us with. He was responsible enough to visit us, and he was our father. You know, we'd run to the car and he'd lift us up. You've seen the pictures where he's holding my brother up on his hand and throw us up in the air.
2 months.
Oh, yeah, I did.
Ralph did go to college, but he'll tell stories how he had to study under his blankets with the flashlight. And Jim, when he was 17, got out of high school and he joined the Navy.
I don't mention much about my sister because it's an incredibly sad story. That's okay. After about 12, she was sick all her life and in and out of hospitals and institutions and died, and nobody ever knew if it was muscular dystrophy or MS.
It was very, very bad, and I don't know everything that happened to Ellen. But she did have physical and mental problems. And the first time I met her, she was in Patton State Hospital. You know, it was one of those things you had to go behind the locked doors. It was a very frightening thing. So after my kids were born, we didn't visit her very much.
In letters later, and see, this could make somebody feel guilty, he bragged about how he was willing to sacrifice his kids to unite the world. So it could look both ways. Was that a responsible father or irresponsible? And he would simply say, what's more important, uniting Spaceship Earth or raising your own family?
Without further ado, I'm going to give you Dr. Brunner because he needs no introduction, because he'll do his own introduction if I remember Dr. Brunner. Dr. Brunner.
Thank you. 3,000 years ago, Moses said, every human being is responsible for his action, or that being is still a beast, not yet human.
I always wanted to marry a smart man. I said, oh, I got to marry a smart man. I wanted to marry a man that was out of this world, you know what I mean? So finally I met Dr. Bronner, and he was the one. He was very smart.
This is Gladys, my father's 4th wife, and she almost killed me when that got out in a Los Angeles paper. But I love the adage, if you don't know what to say, tell the truth.
Actually, I was going to a fashion show. I thought it was a real fashion show, and it turned out to be a health lecture. So I liked it very much, and that is about, maybe 40 years ago. And then I had an auntie in San Diego that was Paul Bragg's fan. So I was right in the health food movement, you know, accidentally. And I met some girls that know Dr. Bronner, and they said, you must meet Dr. Bronner. You've got to meet Dr. Bronner. So they introduced me to Dr. Bronner. So one night he gave a beautiful corn party, and he invited about 100 people or 200 people. And he had one guy, he was a funny guy, he was kind of a jumping jack. Wasn't he, D.B.?
Yeah.
And from then on, you know, he was kind of alone, and I was kind of alone, so I worked for Dr. Bronner, and we just made it. And it's 25 years now that we've been together. Isn't that right, D.B.?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, what else should we say?
Well,
and listen, he's getting better every day. Usually they get worse and you want to get rid of him, you know? You know, oh, gee, I can't stand him anymore. But he's getting better every day. He's kinder, he's most generous, and he just loves cruise ships.
Who would offer to pay up your house? You'd have to be quiet, wouldn't you? Or buy a car for you. That's what he did. He did that for everybody. He didn't do it only for me. He didn't do it only for me. He would treat the other people the same as he'd treat me. You know what I mean? The girls and everything.
When I came to work for Dr. Bronner, you know, I thought, well, this guy he's not gonna hire me. I don't have no high school diploma. I don't know anything. He wants somebody to type for him. Well, Dr. Bronner welcomed me in with open arms. He was so compassionate. He never judged anybody. And he taught me to respect others and myself as well. And he taught me to love myself and love others as well.
We're making a film. Is he on the phone? We have a big meeting next week. Eldridge Cleaver, who led the Black Panther, will be the main speaker. And he'll be there, and Evelyn Einstein, the granddaughter of Einstein, the great scientist, he'll also be here from Berkeley. And we have a peace plan where we unite the spaceship, where we unite all mankind. Because we are 100% opposed to missiles. Missiles are absolutely anti-social, are absolute nonsense. Because the common people of this earth don't want any part of these missiles. That'll be tremendous because Palomar Planetarium, have you ever been up there? That's the greatest planetarium on Earth, and we base our teachings on astronomy. In other words, no guesswork, no baloney. Absolute science, astronomy, mathematics. We are the Palomar Planetarium, the greatest planetarium on God's spaceship Earth. That helps unite the whole human race, lightning like by a new birth. For we are all one or all none. Palomar proves that to everyone.
There was nothing wrong with his head. Don't get that wrong, because D.B.'s head was, he had a good head on him. But he was rocking the boat, and those guys didn't like it. So they thought, well, we're going to shut this guy up. They couldn't exactly shoot him, you know, because they'd go to jail. And that's the only way they could do it. So they put him away.
They say that, you know, he was speaking at the University of Chicago, and all of a sudden he got arrested. Well, you know, there was probably a lot of ranting and raving at the time.
I'm one of you. My father, mother, wife were gassed and burned. I mixed cement as a slave in a concentration camps until I was able to escape, to flee on my third attempt back to American freedom.
Oh yeah, he never called it the insane asylum. He was in a concentration camp. To him it was a concentration camp, and I did go visit Elgin, and part of it is rings today with barbed wire because the criminally insane are still there. Even though the rest is now wonderfully open and everybody has mental disease, don't you worry. It's the Elgin Mental Health Clinic now, very nice and sweet.
How do you do? Dolly Scanlon. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. So she's explained, what is your position here?
I'm an administrative assistant.
Oh.
But one of my jobs is the media contact.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have, of course, very strict rules and laws about releasing anything about any patients.
As you should have, yeah.
And of course.
And then I'd like to leave you to share with the people here some of the soaps and the articles.
Oh, I think that's so neat.
He's looked on as a visionary, and you know the beauty of this compared to today is that It was horrible what they did in those days,
Of course.
but everyone here knows that. I don't know if she told you the story of when I came unannounced.
Let's go into the
Here.
museum and talk. It's
Yeah.
much more private.
Sure, sure. Well, ours is the opposite. I speak on college campuses and all over America about the story because it's a wonderful story of an eccentric.
Well, I was just going to say,
Yeah.
and how far we've come.
Yeah.
Isn't that?
Well, my wife has had depression and has been hospitalized 3 times, and that saved her life.
Well, absolutely.
But this would be interesting now. My father, you would feel, would have been in that main building.
I would think so, yes.
Mhm.
The old center building is what we referred to it. But you know, see, they'd fallen into such disrepair that they were actually a hazard to leave up. This was on the wall in that center building. The hospital dedicated to the state of Illinois, to the welfare of its people for their relief and restoration, a place of hope for the healing of mind, body, and spirit, where many find health and happiness again.
He claims he was forced to mix cement. Did they have manual labor as one? Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it's an odd paradox because he loved people working with their hands. So on the label, it's Jesus the carpenter and Hillel the sandal maker. But when he wanted to dramatize the terribleness of the Nazi commie concentration, he was forced to mix cement. But they would do that to help with the buildings and stuff, I take it.
Well, there was a belief at a time that labor was good for you. That you know, keeping busy and occupying
That's
yourself.
true, though.
Well,
Yeah.
that's there again. You know,
Yeah.
there's some grain of truth in so many of the treatments that we had.
Here's the story of how he got here. He was an incredible dynamic speaker, but he was so intense. And on the University of Chicago, I love imitating Dad. I'll leave you, I do a show across America. The dean has him brought into the office for speaking without a permit. And his intensity, now this is Dean Hutchins of the University of Chicago, and in his arguing, he got worse about it. And he would show me over and over, and because of electric shock, I could say to him, Dad, I heard this 100 times, you're gonna hear it 101, it's gotta be in your frontal lobe, because of the shock treatment. So I heard this story over and over. He'd take out his false teeth, take off his glasses, he was almost blind, and he was totally blind the last 20 years, and then go like this and start arguing and then foaming a little, and I would be the first to say, this guy is nuts. And they called the police while he's just arguing for freedom of speech, and they railroad him into the Elgin Insane Asylum here, then call his sister.
And of course, his sister, she was brainwashed, you know. There's sometimes sisters don't know too much.
But they had this restriction even in 1945. The police can't put you in, but a relative could. So they called his sister, Tante Lucy, who we had saved from the concentration camps, in Rhode Island to sign him in.
April 11, 1946. Dear Dr. Steinberg, after you have a chance to examine my brother, I would like to hear from you.
Never paint Louise as a bad person because she was a caring person.
As far as I know, he made a public nuisance of himself and the police brought him to the hospital. From the time his wife died, when he also adopted the doctor's title and started to write poetry, I felt there was something wrong.
There were times when the kids were in homes that Louise was the only one that would ever visit them. You know, of all the relatives.
His room is plastered full with all kinds of sayings and slogans, just as if he was trying to give himself a pep talk. He also wrote letters to the president, to General Eisenhower, etc., telling them how to run their business. The terrible fate of our parents must have been on his mind lately, and this may have contributed to his breakdown. I wish to thank you and your assistants for all the attention and understanding they can give to this case. Very truly yours, Louise Bronner.
She was a really nice person. She went on to get her doctorate. She had been a chemist, and she lived in poverty to get her doctorate in German and taught at prestigious universities. But whenever I would see her, it was always, Ralph, about 2 minutes after, hello, Ralph, you must understand, I did this to make your dad normal. It is not normal to unite spaceship Earth.
He escapes to Los Angeles, California with the shirt on his back. It came about this way. Tante Lucy, who certainly had guilt about this, would come and visit him once in a while. She took him out for lunch on a Sunday. When she went to the ladies' room, he took $20 out of her purse and disappeared. He bought a paper, wanted partner to share the cost to ride to Los Angeles. So he finds a rider and they get along really well. So Dad breaks the news to him in Las Vegas in a filling station that, would you believe that I just escaped from an insane asylum? When Dad came out of the bathroom, the car was gone.
I stopped in Las Vegas and I made $400 in the Golden Nugget. I made $400. I had the calm control. When you go through such pressure, you either collapse or you become very strong and calm. I had the control to put my money only after 6, 7 times low came, then I put it on high. I mean, it was almost a cinch. Made $400 in one night, and so I came to California. On the first night, I slept in LA on the roof of the YMCA, penniless with the pigeons, as the article in yesterday's LA Times shows.
1956 must have been the first year I fly out to California. And he sent me the money to come and said he needed me to help with the bills. And I thought, well, how am I going to help with bills? I'm broke too. And I was literally shocked when I saw where he was living. I had to ask a parking lot attendant, and he points to an old tenement hotel. And he had the first 2 layers. And trucks would back up to the porch on the second layer, and he'd take out the railing and dolly out soap. He was working everything himself. Mixing it in drums, pouring it into bottles, giving it away till some people started buying it. And his room was oil drums with blankets. I'll never forget that. He's sleeping on the blankets.
1967, Jim brought me down here. He didn't really tell me anything about his dad at that time. We sat down and Dr. Bronner told me, pick a number. I can't remember what number. I chose 6 or something. And then he told me a moral ABC, and he talked for the entire rest of the time that I was there. You know, they always say that the 60s were all the hippies. No, we weren't all hippies in the 60s.
First time you ever saw the soap or used the soap?
I think I first bought it when I was homeless in San Francisco and needed something cheap to wash with.
Probably before the 60s.
First time I found it, I hopped freight trains across country. And one of the guys on board the freight train that we had hopped on had some in his backpack and shared it with us. And so from that point on, I was hooked. And I went from there. We were up in Frisco. We got some up in Frisco. You could get it just about anywhere that was a major center for, I want to say, societal change.
Everybody liked him, especially the young hippies. They just loved him.
That has been the backbone of the company. It is the counterculture. You know, they are the ones that we sell to, but we also sell to very straight-laced people like I am.
They really put the soap on the map. They got him started. You know, the young hippies, because they all like to scrub in that soap, because you know that peppermint soap made them feel so good.
I saw other folks running around naked around there. I mean, it was some, you know, it was like a lot of free-spirited people, you know, and came from every different kind of background you could think of. There would be long hair and, you know, they're coming in their Volkswagen buses or whatever they were living in. And they would come and Dr. Bronner would take them all out to eat. They would, you know, talk with Dr. Bronner. They would sit and come to listen to him talk about the moral ABC. because they were like, they yearned for it, you know.
He wasn't for the hippies that just laid around and, you know, contemplated flower petals. You know, he was with, you know, it doesn't matter what you did, but you had to do something. You had to do something constructive. But this was a person that was embraced by the counterculture.
If there's a Holocaust or a cataclysm, if there's a cataclysm now, I mean, tell me how to make a light bulb. Tell me anything.
The sun is supposedly going out of the galaxy. We're all revolving. This system is revolving around the 29th degree of Taurus in the eye of the bull. And there's a fixed star called Alcyone, or All-C1. And the whole system's going out, but Earth is not aligned right now. And that's why the Space Brothers are here, to get Earth all in line. And
Are they going to come and actually tell us or help us? Then what do you do with the situation that because of the atomic explosions we're becoming farther and farther off our axis? Is that a good thing or is that a bad thing?
That's a bad thing. In fact,
well, how do you know?
Einstein's nephew says that
Halley's Comet, this messenger of God that comes half as close as the sun, 50 million miles, at 4 million miles an hour, almost as big as the moon, with a 100 million mile long fiery tail, almost collides with this Earth for 72 hours. And it doesn't collide. And on schedule. This convinces the most stupid atheist that an eternal, ever-loving, almighty power is running this universe.
Dr. Bronner was on my list of individual influential people in the world. Frank Zappa, Dennis Hopper, John Lennon, Dr. Bronner.
Listen, children! Eternal Father, eternal one. Exceptions, eternally, absolute none.
Oh no, he wouldn't smoke marijuana. He was basically a very good health food man. But he did have rare liver, and everybody liked this. He had the rare liver about twice a week.
Is the bouillon here, Gladys? Oh, yeah. Well, I get it all the time. How about... Have you each got a glass?
Mm-hmm. Gladys would make him, this food to me, it looked like something I wouldn't eat. I don't know what was, bouillon was in it, mineral seasoning was in it, protein seasoning was in it, eggs with the shell and all were in it, and like this, I don't know what this brown stuff was. It was whatever Gladys cooked up, blended up in the kitchen or whatever, you know.
That bouillon and that mineralized guacamole, cheese and corn is a balanced meal. And the wonderful thing is, the guacamole is raw, 100% raw. Lemon, onion, garlic, avocados. With the avocado oil, it's the healthiest thing to eat.
No, I didn't have an interview. No, it was just like, she says, okay, we'll come Monday at 10 o'clock in the morning. So I come there Monday at 10 o'clock in the morning, and I went in and I went to Nina and I said, my name is Gail and I'm supposed to come here and work for Dr. Bronner. She said, he's upstairs. So I went out there, you know, thinking, all right, this is great. I'm going to work for Dr. Bronner. You know, friends aren't going to believe this, that I'm working for Dr. Bronner. Went up the stairs and I go, hello, because I didn't see anybody. I said, hello. And then I heard Dr. Bronner with this really strong voice, all one, come on in. I'm out here in the patio area. So I walked in there and he said, take off your clothes and sunbathe. And he was completely naked sunbathing. He goes, the sun's beautiful. If you want, he goes, why don't you go down and pick some fresh fruit off the trees? And he said, and then when you come back up, you could take off your clothes and sunbathe. Right? And he said, you don't have to worry because I'm blind, I can't see anything. Well, I was like, okay, he's blind, he can't see anything, but I'm seeing a lot, you know, so but I thought, okay, that's okay.
Picture, but you'd think if a car was coming slowly at us, maybe 5-10 miles an hour, and a man with a white Nehru jacket and black glasses is hanging onto the door, running alongside the car. He would insist on that.
Even if we had a full meal and it would be bad for his heart, I want to get out and run. He almost always won, no matter what shape he was in. And Dad slept at the end there, and the windows would be open, and I'm sleeping up there at 4 in the morning. I have to go up to go to the bathroom, and I'd hear, "We must unite the earth," and he's talking to tapes. We have thousands, literally, thousands of tapes.
Taught Jesus to unite all three, 4 billion strong, and overnight we're one, all one. Unquote, underline, paragraph.
I'd get up at 4 in the morning to go to the bathroom, and I'd hear his voice on those tapes down there. And it got in my blood, number 13. And
listen, children, eternal Father, eternal One. This was the Strauss and the music. They help unite all one. All one, all one, all one.
These were great. It's like on a ship. I always had the room on the end. Over the years from the 60s and that, there'd be some college students staying there and so on for a couple days, for a couple weeks. So it's quite a different corporate headquarters, huh? And for 40 years. Here's Men of Principle. Okay, Dad got a hold of this one because in big letters, see page 50. The most sinister single fact confronting us today is the appeal communism has to the student mind throughout the earth. He hated the universities. He thought I was going to be corrupted by them because they were run by communists.
Federal Bureau of Investigation, Office Memorandum, United States Government. Subject, Dr. E.H. Bronner. July 8, 1949. This individual telephoned today to advise that he is planning to leave from Los Angeles to visit his 3 children who are suffering under communist oppression in Milwaukee. 5/29/52. Complaint. Bronner, who stated he called this office every day, stated that his, Bronner's, uncle is Albert Einstein, and that Einstein is surrounded by communists who would not let him see Einstein. 6/22/52. Stated commies are poisoning water through fluoridation. Wanted something done about this. 11/7/52. Same as before. 11/8/52. Same as before. 1/9/53. 5/18/54. July 8, 1940. Admittedly obsessed with the idea that soluble fluorides in the U.S. drinking water is a Russian plot. All mental hospitals are communist concentration camps. Wants to see his uncle Einstein without any communists present. Water being poisoned. Called Einstein. Called again. Same stuff. 7/8/49. It is recommended that this information briefly be made part of that data appearing in the nut box as psycho case, nut box, nut file. However, it was noted at this time and in the past that he apparently does have what appears to be a great deal of scientific knowledge.
A life dedicated to God, mankind, and spaceship Earth. Are you a friend of his?
No, I knew him years and years ago.
I'm his oldest son.
Oh, that's your brother over here then, huh?
Yeah, okay, is it over there?
Yeah, there's one over here.
Let me give you some articles and some soap. I'm carrying on the way Dad did. I'll talk to anybody.
Boy,
you knew Dad then, huh?
he spent a lot of money fighting communism.
Yeah, and he won the battle.
Yeah, that's right.
How did you know Dad?
I was a real estate broker.
And did you sell him some property or what?
No, I talked to him a lot about different things. And
oh, if you talked to him...
He used to call me on the phone at night.
What is your name?
Chet Rohn, R-O-H-N.
I'll give you, the newest one is Tea Tree. Tea Tree.
I didn't mean to bum off you.
Oh, no. It's an honor to meet, you know what makes my day? That I meet people like you anywhere in America.
But my wife is right here.
Oh.
I know.
You may be gone from this earth? Is that yours there, or which one? This one? Once in a lifetime. Oh. Boy, that's beautiful.
Yeah, she was sure precious.
Well, that's good. You have a lot of happy memories, huh?
Yeah.
Did you have children?
Yeah, one right there.
Oh,
That's a daughter there.
That's sad.
And then her daughter is next to her.
Oh, man. Well, this must have been a child, right?
Yeah.
If your daughter's daughter passes away.
She was just 11 days, 22.
Oh.
She got lupus. Yeah, I used to sit around the phone at night with him by the hour.
You did?
Yeah.
No kidding.
What kinds of stuff would he talk to you about?
Mainly anti-communism. He was just so deep into that. I know he spent a fortune on it.
This is the Moral ABC, and you don't have to go blind reading it from the labels, but some of the stuff is going to surprise you.
I'd like to read all of it.
Yeah, this is a telegram he sent to Roosevelt in 1943. The war is changing in our direction, and this is what gave me goose pimples, the last paragraph. For the sake of all men yet not slaughtered, I pray to God that one of you, out of these hundreds of messages I've sent of you, that one of them will reach you as a message from Garcia over the last 10.5 years. So my father comes to America. I'll autograph this for you. My father comes to America in 29, and in 32 he's already writing the president. When did you last write the president?
I've never written.
I know. Is it Chet, C-H-E-T?
Yeah.
Like Chet Atkins, huh? I'm into music a lot. I'll put the date, so it's 12/7. Boy, what a date, huh?
Pearl Harbor.
Dad just was an incredible person. You know, he was totally blind.
I didn't know that.
Can I give you a hug?
You sure can.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
I didn't know about Dr. Bronner or his soap when I met him. I went to speak in Escondido one night, and Dr. Bronner, during the question and answer period, this very intense fellow kind of took over. And standing there with these very thick, dark glasses. And at first I took him to be kind of a nuisance heckler because he was so persistent, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But then listening to what he was saying, the things were so interesting and profound that I walked over to him and started talking to him. Well, Thomas Paine taught me a great lesson about the power of the pen and the power of a pamphlet. Many people have lost faith in the ability of the individual to make a difference. And Thomas Paine was my inspiration. I read his books while I was in prison. It was when everything was theoretical to me and I was trying to understand what role I could play. And Thomas Paine provided me with the clues of the power of the written word and the pamphleteers. And during the 1960s in particular, I had the experience and the real thrill and enlightenment of preparing writings, pamphlets, and I watched their impact and effect. Well, I think that he has that same spirit in the way that he puts this information on the labels of his soap and other products. At first I thought this was a little weird, but then I saw it was a very wise thing to do because people like the soap, they like his other products, and so they bothered to read the labels.
When Thomas Paine found himself smeared and slandered and suppressed, he had no choice but to print summaries of his 8 great books, and thank God they were not completely suppressed. We can quote them today. I was in the same boat. I found the enemy of mankind is that human being that did not get the teachings of hard work in his younger years. As the Moral ABC says, unless constructive, selfish, I work hard, perfecting first me, absolute nothing can help perfect me.
When I was a little kid, I'd go to the health food conventions and I'd talk about the label and about how grandfather believed that there's only one God and that there's been a prophet every 76 years inspired by Halley's Comet to interpret God's will and lead their people to God, whether that be Muhammad, Jesus, Hillel, Moses, Buddha, you name it, and always Mark Spitz, you know, and it's just, and Mark Spitz. I didn't even know who Mark Spitz was, but that was just one of them. I can say that he probably would be a little bit upset that we weren't preaching. You know, we don't do weddings, which people do call and ask us if we do weddings. But I think he'd be extremely pleased in how well our soaps are doing. And, you know, he loved the fact that the label wouldn't come off in the shower. They're silkscreen now, you know, because the label for him was, you know, that was the mission, is the label.
When he told his 12 sons, listen, children, eternal Father, eternal one.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. So nobody comes along and says that's Bronners religion.
Okay, great.
That exactly with those 6 words.
Add to the first paragraph. Give it to me from the beginning.
We are not true while calculated calm controls us. Blood flows near spirit in cold divided flame.
He would call us, I have a better, I've improved it. I can take out this line and put this line in. And this is like 3 o'clock in the morning. We'd say, Dr. Bronner, this can wait. No, it's important, it can't wait. And there was times where he'd say, you have to come to the office right now. It's 3 o'clock in the morning, Dr. Bronner. Come to the office now, I'm the boss, click. So what do? You have to go, you know what I mean? And then you would get there and he'd say, I decided I'm not gonna change it. You know, because you're right, it was better the way it was.
Working for him is very difficult. He's a very demanding person, very intense. He wants everything done exactly his way. By the same token, many of the things he does are done extremely well. He hasn't changed, and gee, I'm 47 years old, and I guess I can remember him back when I was 5 years old. And I can remember anything we did. We did to a great extent.
So on an interview in Milwaukee for half an hour, I said, I used to wonder how Frank Sinatra could sing My Way his entire life with feeling each time, but now I know because I never, never, never get tired of telling about my father. Do we have any fans of Dr. Bronners soaps here? I usually look to see where the soap is. Thank you for buying my soap. I'll give you the last article. We have no advertising. This is parenting, Vogue. You get wet in the shower, step back, and we're talking drops. Dr. Bronner was my father. He died 5 years ago, and I want the world to know, putting an insane asylum for beliefs on the label, 30,000 words. Let me give you a hug. My father really believed this.
You're man.
Because of your buying the soap, each of our workers got $10,000 to $40,000 bonuses. If you worked for us, you would have gotten a bonus of $10,000 to $40,000 this year. $10,000 to $15,000 as a bonus. Have you ever heard of Dr. Bronners soaps? It is great for the skin. But you really have a natural beauty. Do you model at all? We have wells in Ghana, an orphanage in China, and projects like that. Just read that. It's an unbelievable story. But I wish I could find my keys. That doesn't make it any better. Well, listen, I gave you a bumper sticker that said commit random acts of kindness. Does he have a full scholarship, or does he have to pay for part of it?
Oh, we have to pay for all of it.
Okay, now this isn't showy. I do this all over. And my phone number's on there. If he wanted to call me afterwards, I can give him the professor who said we've got to get more people hearing you. I'm going to give you $100 towards.
I can't take that.
No. It's for him. It's my random act of kindness. No, what are the odds that he wants to go to Eastern Illinois?
Yeah.
Well, it's sort of neat to overwhelm the quiet desperation, was some British author wrote, of people's lives, stuck in dead-end jobs, treated by like dirt, and along comes a guy jumping at him in a human way that actually runs stuff the way it should be run.
Ralph looks like his dad. Which that was always a problem because Ellen and Jim did not. And so therefore they might have been favored. They were blonde, blue-eyed. And Dr. Bronner, looked Jewish, and Ralph is dark.
Jim was blonde and blue-eyed and the favorite of the family. Now, I only hear this from others. I didn't. So there's a whole bunch of Jim on hand, and I wasn't.
There's all sorts of those pictures, and there's all sorts of pictures with Dr. Bronner and Jim. I've not seen one of Dr. Bronner and Ralph.
And I was so mistreated by the mother I don't remember that this Haiti Hilbert said my first words to her were, "You're not going to hit me too, are you?"
Next morning, Haiti called me up on the phone. She said, "You got to give me Ralph," who is the one of my 3 children that looked a bit Jewish. "You got to give me Ralph till your wife is well." And I says, "If you allow me to compensate you." And he was a year there, and he was treated so excellent, so well, so understanding, that he hated it when I took him back into my family, and his mother got better.
You think that Dr. Bronner favored
Jim for sure, I know that. I don't know about Ellen, but...
Because they were blonde?
I think so. Because when he left Germany, he was leaving behind his heritage.
I never really realized that I was Jewish until I was an adult, until I was 17 or 18. And then I became very conscious of the fact that he had this complex about being Jewish. And I wanted to find out what the hell is about being a Jew.
As far as my granddad goes, I mean, he was, our label is blue and white because of the, Israel. And, he's a very proud Jew. But, who knows, maybe at the time, and maybe he went through a period where he was, had some of that self-hatred. But he was a very proud Jewish person. He wasn't in a traditional religious sense Jewish, but, obviously it's the dominant influence in his philosophy and thinking.
Before we can have shalom, before we can have peace, we must have all one. We must have unity. Before anything else, we must have unity. Without unity, there cannot be peace. Listen, children, eternal Father, eternal One. In Hebrew, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
That is a paraphrase of the main Jewish teaching from Deuteronomy chapter 6. The exact most common translation is, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one." The word for Lord can also be translated as the Eternal One, the Hebrew word.
And that's a main Jewish teaching?
The main Jewish teaching. It's sort of the very essence, the distillation of all Jewish teachings.
And what does it mean?
God is one. What does that mean? Well, it's very complicated. I guess the moral consequence of that would be that if God is one and God is the creator of all, then in some essential sense, all of God's creation is one, that we could say that the human family is one, that we are one with all living beings, we're one with all beings, really. So there's a kind of a moral imperative that can be derived from that teaching.
what's slowly happening, it's sort of interesting, is I'm becoming more of the subject than my father. That Milwaukee magazine was a good example. They always, editors have more words than they can use when they talk to me, so they gotta pick a slant. And I could tell the slant on that one was how offbeat I am, which is becoming ironic, because my father was the king of offbeat. What I have that my father didn't, and this is a new insight I never thought out before, is an incredible love for children. My father maybe didn't have chances. I'm trying to think, we rarely were around children. Who likes baseball?
Me.
Okay, Bobby liked baseball so much, and it was raining outside. She had the brilliant idea of playing baseball in the...
Wow. So I got this phone call from this man saying that, you know David Garcia? And I said, yes. And he said, well, he's written to me and wants me to send you some soap. And it was weird because in a few minutes I was telling him my whole life story to this man that I didn't know who he was. He said it was Ralph Bronner from Bronners Soaps. And we talked about an hour. And during this hour, I was, you know, he told me about himself and his family, and he did. He sent me a box of soap.
Over the years, Ralph's become part of the family. It's just someone who stops by, and you forget that he's like somewhat of a celebrity. He's such a normal person, and he doesn't show off like, oh, I make this soap, so he's just a regular average Joe.
Over here we have a playground that Ralph and Gisela sent the money for, and we put it on a playground for the children, and they love it. And he's done a lot of things.
Well, it's either Gisela and I or the company.
I started out wanting to adopt, and each child has sort of come to me. I haven't gone out and said, okay, I want that one or this one or that one. I've had adoption agencies call me and say, we've got this young person, and they know that I like to deal with the children that nobody else wants to adopt, that thinks it's too difficult to adopt.
Go to sleepy, weary hobo. Let the towns go drifting by. Can't you hear those steel rails humming? That's a hobo's lullaby.
It must be a very difficult thing to explain why someone would take their kid to the hospital and not be able to take care of them.
It's really, really difficult because I don't understand how someone can do that with their children because I couldn't do that. So it is, but I try to do it in a positive manner, that it wasn't negative. It was because at that point this parent could not take care of that child because they couldn't take care of themselves, and that it wasn't their fault, that it wasn't because they were not good enough or they were ugly or all these things, that it was something outside of them, that they are very, very special.
Can't you hear those steel rails humming? Can't you hear those steel rails humming? That's a hobo's lullaby. That's a hobo's lullaby.
How are things going?
Oh.
This has to be trying for you. Let me give you a hug.
Oh, how are you, sir?
It's a real sign of love. Of caring when somebody's down.
You don't mind if I smoke, do you?
No.
Thanks. I'm really kind of stressed right now, I gotta tell you.
By the way, did you look through that book?
I did.
Weren't there some that jumped out at you?
Well, the only problem is, I don't unfortunately read music, and I'm not sure what these chords work on a piano.
Oh, I see. Yeah, we're caught.
Unfortunately, because I can't read any music.
Were there any songs in there that you knew?
Not a single one.
No
But
kidding.
you want to see what's going on? See what I got going on?
Yeah, let's hear it.
All right. This is the only song I remember from all my days playing and reading music.
Oh, yeah. I love that one.
Someone then taught me after all these years, and then there was a period of like 14 to 17 and a half I didn't touch a piano.
How old are you? It's hard to
I'm
peg
34.
you. No
I'll be
kidding.
35 this year. And I've had about 20 hours of sleep in the last month is how it feels, you know.
How long has she been here?
Since June of last year.
Oh, man.
But I haven't been here full time since then. That's been only the last, since December or so that it's been full on.
And how long were you going with her?
A couple of years.
Okay.
I mean, well, you know, I mean, it's become that. It was about, I don't know, we were going off about a year when this happened.
And what kind of cancer does she have?
I gotta shut this down.
Oh, I'm sorry.
She has a glioblastoma, one of the worst for brain.
But a year is a long time.
Now she's already exceeded the expectancy.
Is she being treated at all?
She was. This is hospice now.
No, it's just a
Palliative
peaceful.
treatment.
Okay. This is your stuff? Oh, that's great. See, you're blowing all the stereotypes. It looked like you would be into punk rock or something. It's beautiful music.
What'd you think of that?
Very moving, and it moves you to sadness because what does it remind you of?
Just being here alone and playing and hurt.
That you had friends and that was beautiful.
My girlfriend's going.
And she'll always be in your heart. Dorothy Scott, who was a wonderful singer, sang there, and her mother had died last year. She didn't know if she could do it. First Mother's Day without her, but she just put her mother in her heart. That's where my father is.
On a foggy night, when the city carries sounds of wheels on tracks and my cleaning hose, you will rise from bed and see me down, sleep interrupted by the bedroom window below. I'll be standing at the top of the stairs. You'll look out with your disapproving frown, but inside my head I'll be singing.
Dad's always watching me. Dad would have loved being here. He liked being on stage. Constructive capitalism is where you share with the workers in the earth from the profit you make from them. Okay, I didn't know if I could shout.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
So you probably should be drinking some tea and
Yeah,
have some
yeah,
water
tea
on
and
stage
lemon.
with you and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
There is a way that your information comes out that if it didn't come out of you in such a basically friendly and unmolested fashion, your history could be one to have made some people brood intensely. Like maybe kind of a dad who was kind of spatially out there and missing, absent. And then also it could, you know, you could, and it's almost like your father had to amend in his heart and mind the harsh actions of those boys who threw piss on him, and like it troubled him so much that in his life he had to kind of find a way to forgive that kind of intolerance and that kind of injustice that could have ever happened to him, because it's insulting, it's embarrassing that someone could find you unsociable or unacceptable. And then you could now are spreading a good message, but also under the cloud of kind of a modeled history. And if it was said with even one dark tone, it could be taken a different way. And I commend you.
Well,
I don't know if it's a luck chance or if there's a lot of love in there that I'm missing.
I used the joke last night of I'm a born optimist, and I don't know where that came. In Milwaukee Magazine, they have the statement where when I was in high school, I had acne so bad I was treated with a sun lamp. I'd been in 15 homes till I was 7. I had glasses so thick I was used to being called Four Eyes. My mother died when I was 7. I have no memory of her. My father escaped from an insane asylum. I hadn't dated at all. And the next sentence, because I talk from the heart, I have no notes. But I was happy, Ralph said. But that is true. I don't know why either. But I was asked quite often, do I ever wish my father was more normal? And that's why I love people like you. The answer in the Chicago Tribune, and I had to change a word or my neighbors were ticked off. Normal, my neighbors are normal. They bitch about the government. They worry about crabgrass. They watch the Packers. I don't like normal. And it's this kind of statement. Most people are nice people, but they only care about their little world. All of my neighbors take care of their family, their kids. But they don't go the step of looking like my father did, that the world is also your family. Couldn't you do something to help?
I am a member of the Mobile Wash Unit. I am a member of the Mobile Wash Unit.
Really happy to introduce to you Ralph Bronners.
Constructive capitalism is where you share with the workers and the earth the profit you make from them. The world is our country. We are all its citizens. We're all brothers and sisters because of one ever-loving, eternal Father. Those two sentences sum up the 30,000 words on the label.
I am a member of the Mobile Wash Unit. I am a member of the Mobile Wash Unit.
And I went from ridiculing my father. Nobody's going to read this crap, call it mid-glow. I mean, if any of your dads said, what do you think? pick human charities. My criteria is you don't have a pot to pee in, you love what you're doing, and you're fun to be with. That eliminates Mother Teresa. We actually know somebody who knows her, and she was all business. When I pass away, there is nobody left in the family that remotely talks as much as I do. Eccentric geniuses cannot be good fathers. I can't picture Beethoven stopping a symphony to take the kids out. And Dad was always obsessed with uniting Spaceship Earth. So he'd wait for a meal and he's still working. Dad, we're waiting. What's more important, eating or uniting Spaceship Earth? Well, he's got you there, right? That was true of almost everything that he did.
God has not promised skies always blue, flowers strewn pathways all our lives through. God has not promised sun without rain, joy without sorrow, peace without pain. But God has promised strength for the day, rest for the labor, light on the way, grace for the trial, help from above, undying sympathy, unfading love. So obey the kingdom of God's law, uniting our one above, all one.
It seems like almost like a dream to me. It seems like it's impossible. The impossible dream, you know what I mean? It really does, Ralph. I just can't believe that, you know, we didn't realize he was such a great man.